tonight. This is Dillon Dilligaf, along with my sidekick Isaac Israel, and we're here with podcast number 14 for Tickle Me Comedy Podcast. We're so glad you're here. We're in for a great night. Our hosts this evening, our sponsors this evening are Tickle Me Comedy Club and Blue Zone Comedy Tour. So let me hand it off to my good buddy, my sidekick Isaac Israel, and he'll introduce our guest for this evening.
Folks are so excited for our guest this evening. I mean, we're going to be doing a two-parter, one on Monday and then one on Thursday, okay? Because our guest tonight, just going over his credits can take up the two podcasts, okay? So, I mean, what can I say? He's been on Showtime, been on Star Search. He's written for Steve Harvey. He's opened for so many acts, comedians and singers, and he's been doing comedy for 33 years. He's the #1 Carnival cruise ship comedian. He just and we're lucky to have him at the Comedy Club whenever we do it, and we're lucky to have him here at the podcast tonight, Mr. Lance Montalto.
Let's give Lance a big hand. Hey Lance, welcome aboard.
Thank you!
I wanted to make comment about the mask. That's a good thing. And then he put a
It's
hole
like
in it.
coronavirus.
He
so
put a
I can
hole in
actually
it so he
drink
could
it.
drink it through
That's it.
through the straw. And he can
You got to see the
selectively,
YouTube video to see what Lance is doing.
and he can selectively contaminate us by aiming the.
That's
hole.
right, I can cough in any direction I
That's
want.
pretty good.
That's okay. I got a face shield.
So Lance, I want to start out.
Wait, I got one. Okay, here we go.
So I thought I had a big face shield. Lance has one that's twice as large as my face
I
shield.
shouldn't be wearing this because it came from China. You don't know what's on it.
Oh.
It may be a genetically modified mosquito or something like that. Did you hear about those? They're genetically modified mosquitoes
No.
in Florida.
Really?
Like the government created these genetically modified mosquitoes. I don't know, like a million of them.
Are they like the danger hornets?
Yeah, I don't know. They carry all these viruses and stuff. It's crazy.
I had a
Joe
girlfriend
Rogan was
like
talking
that.
about it.
I had a girlfriend that was
That's what
her name was Barbie. So Lance, tell us a little about yourself. You've been doing comedy for 33 years.
Yes.
So tell us how you got into it. What
I was wrapped in swaddling clothes as a child, laid in the manger. Oh, I'm sorry, you're Jewish. That's a Catholic joke. I'm sorry. That's our Lord.
Take two.
No, I'm originally from New Orleans, and I was a musician for years. I had recording contracts when I was 11 years old,
Really?
with like Stax Records and stuff. Doing TV
Would there be
commercials.
anything that we might have heard?
No, but I did national TV commercials and things like that.
Mhm.
And then we had 1 or 2 songs out, but at that stage I was 11 years old.
So wait,
And I was a,
were your
Yeah.
parents into music and
my
TV
whole
and all
family
that?
were entertainers.
Oh yeah, that's right,
Oh,
that's
nice.
right.
My dad was a trumpet player in the big band days.
Uh-huh.
My mother had a chance to work with the, what's his name? Nelson Riddle Orchestra.
Really?
That
Wow.
was Frank Sinatra's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
My sister was in American Ballet Theater,
Wow. And you did comedy.
and I did comedy. Well, Harkness Ballet Theater, yes,
Okay.
in
Wow.
New York, yeah.
Wow. So tell us about the first time you were on stage. How'd that go? Tell us how
Comedy-wise or
Yeah,
music?
yeah. Well, either way, both.
Music, I started as a musician,
Okay.
and then
Playing guitar.
playing guitar with my 2 brothers.
Okay.
It was my 2 brothers and I, and we had a band. It was the Montalto Trio, and you play weddings and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
best thing is people come up to you, you got a sign on the drum that says Montalto Trio, and I go, how many pieces in the band? Democrats. But then I would always cut up between all the music and songs and everything, even when at 11, 13, 15 years old. And then when
Like to the audience, so you're just
yeah,
like
between
just
songs.
cracking jokes
And I always
left and right.
I was always that guy who knew every joke and everything.
Uh-huh.
And then as I got older and the band broke up, I started doing the comedy. But I was holding down like 3-4 jobs at one time.
Yeah.
My dad hired all the labor on the docks
Mhm.
in New Orleans. So I was a clerk and checker on the docks, checking
Wow.
everything coming off the ships and all
Sure,
that.
sure.
And then I was selling burglar alarms, and playing music and then doing comedy all at the same time.
Yeah.
At like 18 years old, 22 years old.
So then you moved away from, you changed from doing music to doing comedy.
When the band broke up, yeah, I went straight to comedy. I started comedy in 1987.
They were your brothers, how can you break up a band if it's your brothers? You guys are still gonna see each other.
Yeah, but it's just, we just went in different directions. They wanted to play stuff I didn't wanna play.
So then you said, hey, comedy's the thing to do.
But my brother and them was still entertainers. I got a brother that has 10 children. 10.
That's entertaining.
And him and his family
Uh-huh.
are actually, they were the choir in the church, the whole family.
Really?
But
Oh
they
my
were so
God.
good, they were so good that when people like Celine Dion or Barry Manilow or Reba McEntire, when they would come through the South and do their concerts, they needed backup singers. And they didn't want to tour with them everywhere, so they'd send the music ahead. My brother and his kids would be their backup singers. Yeah.
Oh,
Cool is
God.
that?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a true
So my whole
entertainment
family's
family.
always, it's always been entertaining. I got a brother that's got a doctorate in music,
Uh-huh.
a music professor and everything.
Wow.
How cool is that?
It's in your
So the whole
blood.
family, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So then, would you say 70-something you started in comedy?
I started
87.
comedy in
You're
'87.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And how was that? Was that, I mean, you'd
No,
already been
I started
entertaining.
comedy in '87, yeah.
So
I
you'd already
started
been
music
entertaining.
in 63, 64.
Holy mackerel, must have been like in the crib still.
Wait, are we 52? 63,
Wow, still in the crib.
yeah.
So, so being on stage doing music and being on stage doing comedy, you know, you didn't really have any stage fright or anything, because you've been in front of people for a
No.
long time.
No,
No?
I'm one of these type A personalities that I gotta do it. The first time I ever was in front of a crowd had nothing to do with music or anything. I was about 7 years old, and they brought me out because I was just a wild character, and they wanted me to audition for a play. And I read for it, and while I was there, I was so nervous, I cried, and I walked off because I was so scared of crowds. So I got home at that age, and I said, that's never gonna happen again.
Really, at 7 years old?
And I made myself,
Really?
yeah,
How cool is that?
I did,
Yeah.
I did.
People get scared when they're like 30 years old, let alone
No,
7,
but
you know?
I'm one of those guys
Right.
that, you know,
Uh-huh.
I'm scared right now.
yeah, if you're afraid of lightning, I'm the
Yeah.
guy that they can tie to a tree and not, don't be afraid of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Crick, can you go home
Yeah.
and, my wife, I'm scared of
No,
her.
I just knew that I couldn't not get that beat, let that beat me.
Yeah, exactly. How cool is that?
And then after a while, with the music, because I was a musician and I had other people behind me,
Uh-huh.
which was great, but then I cut up a little bit in between. But then when I became a comic, it was kind of rough a little bit because it was just me,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
then you gotta do it. So I worked my way up to it, yeah.
So the years went by.
But they didn't even have comedy clubs when I started.
And this was in New Orleans?
They had talent shows, gong shows,
Mm.
and then when I got to be 18, 20, I would go to Bourbon Street and open for strippers. Which you see my act now, that's the way I am, because it was a great learning experience.
Cause you gotta get their attention.
Yeah,
It's hard to
because they
be-
don't want,
yeah.
they don't wanna see tits and ass, they don't wanna see me.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
It's like-
gotta get them on your
Yeah.
side.
How
So
do
I
you
was in
get
their
'em?
face
How do
constantly.
you do
Yeah.
that?
You're just in their face, you know,
Uh-huh.
not to take nothing from anybody and just fuck with them. And that's, you know, but that's how I learned.
Huh.
But I learned from watching my first two heroes. When I saw them do comedy, I went, God, that's what I want to do. Was Richard Pryor,
Yeah.
brilliant,
Yeah.
this day.
So.
Richard Pryor and George Carlin.
So wait. So Lance, let's pretend, okay, I'm in a strip club right now. I'm looking at some women, right? And you're right there. I know you're there, but I don't want to listen to you, right? I'm like, oh, look at, like, I'm checking.
It depends. Most of it was all off the top of my head.
Oh, okay,
Because they'd
okay.
heckle.
Uh-huh.
You know, when I do your club, sometimes somebody will say something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I say it off the top of my head and I'll rip them. And then
Uh-huh.
when the show's over, I even forgot what I told them.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean?
So like, yeah, so.
I had a woman one time, this is the sickest.
Uh-huh.
She told me, And I've heard so many comics do it now,
Okay.
but the joke was, she wouldn't shut up.
Uh-huh.
And I said, shut the fuck up, and she still wouldn't shut up. And I said, you know what? I believe that you're the reason that blowjobs were invented, because someone had to shove something in your mouth to shut you the fuck up. And boom! She was pissed, but I don't give a.
Did it shut her
but
up?
The audience.
But
don't
did-
mind.
yeah,
But that's
the
the key.
audience-
That's the key to comedy. If someone's gonna heckle you, and you go eye to eye with them, they're gonna heckle you all night long. But if they heckle you and you hit them right in the crotch, they're gonna shut up
Really?
like that.
And the rest of the audience will
Then
stay
you
on your
got
side?
control of it, yeah.
How many people were there that night? Like,
Oh, God, I don't remember, it was so many years ago. It was about maybe 150.
no way.
Really?
Yeah.
So 150 people watching girls, and then you on the side telling
Yeah, but it
jokes.
was a big strip club.
There's no
on
music
Bourbon
though.
Street.
There's no music because you're telling the jokes, right? Or was there a little bit of background
Look
music?
at Sapphires.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
you work
'cause you can still
Sapphires,
hear
that's
the
why I
music a
just
little
have
bit.
fun with them. I just cut with the
Yeah.
people in the audience.
Gee,
Yeah, for you guys who don't know, Sapphire Comedy, I was one of the first shows I did here about 10 years ago.
That was
And we
great.
still have the comedy show once a week on Saturdays. Yeah, and Lance has performed there.
Do you want to
so-
know what it is in Sapphires? This was great. Oh my God, this was so filthy. Do you remember the first time I went on? I
That
said,
was
can
a
I
while
say
ago.
anything? Can
Yeah.
I say anything?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. I said, really? I
Uh-huh.
can say anything?
It's a
And they go,
rated
"Yeah."
R
So he
room.
said- I said, okay. So when you walk on stage, there's two strippers would walk you on stage and they dance around you and go off. It was so sick. And I looked at the crowd and I went, you know what? It's a great place. But the owner told me before I went up, you know, this is where you're working. You don't shit where you eat. I said, but these two girls are so hot, I would eat about that far from where they shit.
You said that. How'd that go?
That's the whole thing. They died laughing, but it's so sick.
I know,
But I
right?
just said it off the top of my head. I asked him first, I said, can I say anything? Because it's gonna be way out there.
Way out there.
So like, yeah, with Sapphire, like jokes about sex and stuff are
Remember
actually
me saying
encouraged.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're encouraged. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You know, Lance, that's, our career's parallel because I did
No, my whole act isn't like that.
I know, but my first act was at Sapphires at the Gentlemen's Club. Oh my God, what a.
Because we had an open
See,
mic
when I
there.
work Carnival, I do 5 different shows.
I know you do.
You know, you're doing 3 adult shows, and then you're doing 2 family shows where I could have 3-year-olds in the audience, and I'm cutting up with them and having fun with them. So I'll work to the Pope if the check clears.
How do you make these 3-year-olds laugh? A lot of physical comedy, or what are you
Yeah,
doing?
just a lot of fun. You bring them on stage and you whisper in their ear and you make them tell the joke,
Oh,
Oh,
which is
okay.
really good.
That's
And you
smart.
have fun with them,
Uh-huh.
you know, and then you play with the family and all, and you talk to them and everything.
So
And
that's one of my,
I have about an hour of family material and stuff.
that's one of
great.
my comedy goals is to get a cruise ship slot. I've been on dozens and dozens of cruises. and
It's so hard, it's gonna be so hard for anyone
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
new to do a comedy show on a cruise ship, because the comics who are working there for years aren't even working now.
I know.
Yeah.
But we'll be back in, it'll still stay on my,
Oh wait, I got a phone call.
it's right in the middle of the podcast.
What the heck, Lance?
Well, it's a girl. Haley, how you doing? No, I'm doing a podcast.
What the hell?
What?
What's going on there?
Which you
Lance?
wearing?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
There's a podcast
Nice.
going on,
Well, I'll
Lance?
talk to you later. Keep it off.
Oh, God. Meanwhile, back at the podcast. But that is, I do, things are gonna get back to normal at some point. And so that's gonna stay on my bucket list, is to do a cruise ship. So a couple times I've befriended the comics that are on the cruise ship. And one guy, while he was tuning his guitar, it took him like 5 minutes, he gave me the mic and said, take care of the audience. So I got like some free.
Yeah, that's when you really have to
Yep, and then one
dig
time,
deep.
Yeah.
this one time I got on a cruise ship and I asked the cruise director if they had comedy. Most of them have like open mic or comedy club. Nope, we don't do that anymore because we offended somebody once. But, so what I
You want me
said.
to be on it? Oh, go ahead.
So what happened was, I said, well, can I do any comedy? She goes, yeah, you can open for one of our shows. So it was in the atrium with all the decks that go all the way to the top, and there were 500 people there. She had no idea what kind of comedy I did. I could have been filthy, dirty, whatever. And she gave me no time limit or anything. I think it was about 15 minutes, and I had the place roaring. It was awesome, but it was improv.
When I first started, I didn't even have my own material, but I loved Richard Pryor so much that I would get killed for doing this today, all right?
Yes.
He used to do a character years ago, it was called Mudbone.
Uh-huh.
Just
Yeah.
a brilliant old wino in the streets like that.
Yeah.
So I became that wino.
Uh-huh.
It was not racist or anything, but I used to go on stage with the makeup on as an old black wino and do
Really?
Mudbone word for word.
Wow.
And they'd die laughing because they knew it was a tribute to Richard Pryor. It was never racial. It was something that I loved because I loved the guy.
And you
You
weren't
know?
trying to steal his
No,
stuff.
no, I was doing Mudbone. I was Mudbone.
How cool
You know,
is that?
and it was not a racial thing at all. It was just my tribute to Richard Pryor.
Well, but
I
you're
got
right.
paid, I used to go in black clubs with the makeup on, and they didn't even know I was white. And I would do the show, and the talent show, get $500 and leave.
So,
That's
you're
hilarious.
right, like, that wouldn't be allowed today, right?
Today you get killed for it.
Yeah,
Well,
But,
yeah.
but,
You get
but
canceled.
because they see the black face, but if they
Yeah.
realize what it was,
Uh-huh.
back then it wasn't a racist thing at all.
Yeah.
Because I was just playing tribute to the guy that
Yeah.
I loved and I thought he was great.
Yeah,
Just
right.
go on stage and do Mudbone, no, but if you become, I did the, Sahara,
Uh-huh.
the Casbah room at the
Yeah,
Sahara years
yeah.
ago when Sandy Hackett had that room, remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Buddy Hackett's kid?
Mhm.
I went on stage and did Mudbone with the makeup on,
Yeah, okay.
killed. George Carlin's wife was in the audience. She thought it was hilarious. She didn't know who I was. I got off stage, took the makeup off. I went to Sandy Hackett. I said, that was fun. What did you think of it? And he looked at me and goes, what did you do?
Ooh.
Whoa.
I said, I was the black guy that was just on stage. He goes, no, come on, fucker. I said, no. And I took the makeup off and I put it on his hand like that. He went, holy fuck!
That was good.
He didn't even know it.
But do you think you could do that now?
No, no.
So-
They would, the minute you walked on stage, if they knew you were white, they'd kill. But back then, it was nothing, they realized.
It was a
you know,
tribute.
No, I was raised in the inner city and everything. I mean, all my buddies, I'd go to the clubs and everything like that. And I'd do all those talent shows and everything like that in New Orleans. And there was no problem with it back then. But if you see somebody that was doing it in Halloween dressing like noobs, that's bullshit.
Making fun or.
No,
or
but I was
becoming
an
that
actor
character.
and I was Mudbone. I was him.
Mhm. But, so, let me ask you about that, your opinion about that. What do you think, like, let's say, comedy clubs open again, you know, with the way everything has to be so politically correct, what's gonna happen to comedy clubs? You know, people sneak their phones in all the time and record stuff. You
Well,
know,
here's the
what do you
thing.
think's gonna happen?
Here's the thing. I don't care what anyone in the world thinks about my comedy.
Mhm.
I'm at the stage right now to where most people go on stage and they try to entertain the audience,
Yeah.
okay?
Mhm.
You get to a stage in comedy where you realize you know what makes you laugh and you know what you love and what you're funny at.
Mhm.
If I'm in a room of 500 people and 50 of them don't like me, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
They can leave.
yeah.
Because there's 300 million people in the United States. If 100 million don't like me, 200 million are gonna pay a cover charge to come see me. So as long as, that's what happened with Eddie Murphy.
No, but it's
That's
all-
what happened with Richard Pryor. You look at Richard Pryor, when he used to be on the Ed Sullivan Show, he was Bill Cosby. Old videos, he was
Yeah.
Bill Cosby, so clean in a suit and everything.
Yeah.
Then when he became Richard Pryor, he changed his whole life. And his audience found him. He didn't play to an audience.
No, but it's on a whole different level now, Lance, because now, you know, potentially comedy clubs could be canceled. You know, if someone brings in a phone, records something, it's racist or sexist or whatever it is, now comedy clubs could be closed down.
Oh, so
because
now
of
what you
that.
do is say no phones allowed,
So
and
no
you
phones
confiscate
allowed.
phones at the door.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's sad.
one of
Yeah.
well, that's a great idea. That is a great idea. But one of the things that I was thinking about.
Kevin Hart,
Uh-huh.
when Kevin Hart does his shows,
Yeah.
he takes all the phones.
Yeah, he
Does he?
got in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, Kevin Hart got in trouble, like for something he tweeted like 8 years ago, right?
Yeah. And he lost the Oscars.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't know that, he confiscates the phones before he
I
shows
think all the big ones do.
Yeah, he
all
takes
the
the phones.
all the celebrity comics come. Yeah, you can't like Dave Chappelle, all of them. But
Chappelle's my favorite comic on the planet.
Really?
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he is pretty funny.
You know why? Because you look what he's done in the past year. He's
Yeah.
done 4 specials.
yeah, I mean, and he won the Mark Twain Award also.
Brilliant, and he's well deserved.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's brilliant.
yeah, he's great.
I love the one. Did you see the one show that he did where he starts it with the punchline of a joke?
Oh yeah, one of his
He
specials.
goes, I don't
Here's
write
the-
jokes anymore. I just write. I got a fish bowl in my room,
Uh-huh.
and it's got punchlines in it. He goes, and I'll pull it out, and then I'll write the joke later and use the punchline.
Just use the punch.
Here's the punchline. I'm gonna tell you right now.
I know what it
Punchline
is,
over.
yeah.
And then I kicked her in the pussy.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then he does
The
his
whole
whole
special,
show,
the whole
and he tells
special.
all these stories, and then at the end, all the stories combine to that, and he gets, and his last one is, and then I kicked her in the pussy, and the room goes nuts. It's brilliant.
That's brilliant. I don't think I've seen that.
You gotta see it.
I'll-
It's absolutely brilliant.
That's when you know you're a good comic, when you're
Yeah.
thinking in punchlines instead
Because
of
he
setups.
knows, no matter what he says, his audience loves him. He doesn't play to his audience. He doesn't play to anybody but what makes him
He
happy.
puts a product out there and you come to him because
Yeah,
you want to see
that's
that
right.
product.
That's right.
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
So I want.
And then at my stage, believe it or not, when I'm on stage, the laughter is not what makes me happy.
What makes you
You
happy?
know what makes me happy? When you get to
The
a
check.
certain, no, not even that. It's the silence between the laughs. Because
They're waiting to hear what you have to say.
you got them hypnotized.
Or they're
But if
thinking-
you're on stage, and I listen for the silence between the laughs, because if you're on stage and you hear people talking, you don't have them. But you'll see me on stage sometimes where I pause and I'm just walking back and forth, and I'm just listening to the silence, because they're waiting for me to say the next thing.
Yeah, that's
Man, that
You
must
got
be
them
really good
hypnotized.
because I got silence
That's
the whole
the
way.
best
you know?
feeling in the world.
Is it
Yeah.
really?
When you really got the whole room going.
Yeah,
What's he gonna say
Yeah.
next?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Uh-huh.
cool. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, that's good. So.
I wanted to get both of your opinions on something. So.
No.
Well, I kicked her in the.
So I feel like a lot of comedy clubs need to, because of what's going on right now, need to be careful with the comedians they book and things like that. And if somebody gets offended, they can't book the comedian and things like that. And and they're trying to play it safe. A lot of them will play it safe.
The ones
But I
that'll
was
make it won't play it safe.
The comedy clubs?
Comedians.
No, I mean the comedy clubs.
Oh.
The clubs.
Now you have the owner, right? You have the owner just thinking about, it becomes about
No,
business and financial
This is what you
decision.
have to do. You have to have a sign out front saying, this is stand-up comedy. If anything offends you, you don't have to just walk out, and you don't have to be in this room.
That's not gonna stop.
No, it's
people.
but it's as simple as that.
I know.
If anything offends you,
To us logical people, that would be okay.
yes.
But you've got the people that aren't gonna pay attention to that sign, and they're still gonna.
Have it on
Complain.
every table.
Yeah, well,
Every
Because
table.
so
We
you
already
want-
told you, it's on your table here, it's out in the front, in the lobby, it's out by the elevator before you come up. Have it on every table.
I agree with you, and I'm just
This
playing
is
the
stand-up
devil's-
comedy.
I'm just playing the devil's
Yeah,
advocate.
this
You
is
always
not,
got
yeah,
people.
this is not political or correct.
Oh, yeah,
sure.
We know that.
that's a good point, like, give them warning on the table tents and on the
Yes.
signs.
Yeah,
on
well, then
everything.
they start to cancel.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And you
That's
have to
interesting.
defend yourself. As the
You
comic.
always have to defend
Here-
yourself.
But it's worse, because now you offended me, and now you're playing
But,
defense.
so here's the thing.
You ask Jerry Seinfeld, you ask any comic on the planet, none of them, not
But we're
one
talking
comic will
about-
ever work at college again for the rest of their
But
life.
we're talking about now, with the way
Yeah.
the political stuff is now.
That's what I'm saying, that's why we don't work
Right.
colleges.
Right, but it seems to me that it's gotten a lot worse. You say one little thing offensive, and the whole wide world knows about it. And then you're playing defense to defend.
There's
what
ways
you
to
were
get
doing.
around that.
But-
And one person,
Here's where I need your opinion now. So as the owner of the Tickle Me Comedy
Mhm.
Club, I wanna set myself apart from the other owners
Mm-hmm.
by, this is an idea I had in my head, all right. By specifically booking the most controversial comedians.
Yes.
Because, like the ones that get banned,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because, for a number of reasons, right? And I've thought this out, because I want people to know that, you know, when comedians say offensive jokes, that maybe they're not completed with the jokes
Just
yet.
call it the politically incorrect comedy club.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, that, but I mean, in terms of public policy, right? We're talking about
Then
public
you
policy.
say-
We're talking about public policy. So when a comedian tells a joke, sometimes the joke's not finished yet. It's still evolving, right?
Mhm.
So you're catching it at the beginning, okay? Another reason is, I just want people to focus on the art and not the politics behind the art, right?
Part of my art is actually watching the other comics that go on before me. And then I make jokes, and I do it off the top of my head. I'll have 5 or 6 jokes by the time I go on, just what I see in the room. But when he did what was the thing outside with all the cars?
Oh, the adrenaline drive-in show, yeah.
The drive-in show. He goes, "You wanna do it?" I went, "I don't know what it is. I'd have to see it first, one time, to get an idea what it is, and then I'd do it."
Did you
I
do
said-
it?
No, I didn't do it, cause there's only 90 days. But I said, "I got a joke for you can throw, I just wrote." He goes, "What's that?" I said, "Go on stage and go, this is great, look at this, everybody's in their cars and everything, and it's wonderful." He goes, "The only thing that's bad about this is if your act really sucks, it really looks bad when about 8 cars leave."
Yeah, and I said that on stage, like the
Yeah.
second night or something.
And it killed, and it
Yeah,
killed.
yeah, it was so good, yeah, it was good.
That was a great show. I did that.
Yeah, I was there.
Were you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there that one night, and then
That's right.
after you left, after I left, I didn't see the rest of the show.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was a little apprehensive.
I was very surprised on how well it was.
It was
Once I
great.
saw what was going on, I went, "Oh, I could do that, I would have blast with these guys."
And you know, we've talked about it before, but the feedback from the audience was a little bit different. It was honking horns,
Yeah,
flashing
yeah.
lights, a few people at the picnic tables, but I mean, it was great.
It was fun, it was really good, I was there.
I thought it was pretty great. You didn't have to ask who was from out of town. You could just look at the license plates and see.
See, you should have said that, did you say it?
Somebody did. I
That's
stole it
funny.
from someone.
But real quick, guys, going back to that original
Okay.
point, put on your business hats on.
All right,
As an owner of a comedy club, would you do that?
would you do what?
Would you brand yourself, change your branding,
Yes,
and be the club that hires the most,
and you'd have to
the most
advertise it
controversial,
constantly.
controversial
Yeah, you'd have to
comedian?
advertise it constantly, because then they know what they're gonna get before they're there,
So-
which is perfect.
I don't know.
But here's the thing, we would have to cater to the crowds
Yeah.
who like the most
I'll tell you what
controversial
they do on
comedians.
Carnival Cruise Lines. Outside of every comedy club, on each door, there's a
Uh-huh.
huge screen like this.
Okay,
And it shows the night I'm working and the show that I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
And then if it's the family show, it says PG, family, everything, blah, blah, blah. And then when I do the adult show, it says adult only, offensive humor. If anything's offended, there's other places to go to, and they advertise.
There you go.
Oh, that's my agent.
okay.
I'm
We're
sorry.
in the middle of a podcast.
Hey, Tony,
Jesus Christ, Lance.
I'm doing a podcast.
Lance, are you kidding me right now?
What are you
What
wearing?
is this guy? What are you wearing? Lance, you keep watching it for good. Jesus.
What was he wearing?
I have no idea.
Khakis and a red shirt. That's good. But,
So-
well, the answer, my thought is, that's a unique niche.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Business
What do
wise.
you mean, the niche of,
Of controversial
Of
comics,
people,
I'm not
people
sure.
who
I
like
don't know.
controversial comics that are
First
really
of all,
funny.
Are there enough to
you don't have
fill?
to say controversial, just, I'll sit with you, we'll work on that. I have an adult show, I have a family show in the morning, in the early show,
Uh-huh.
come on out and see it, cause it's completely different what you see now.
Mhm.
And then tomorrow night, I have an adult show, but it's adults only.
Uh-huh.
Children 18 and under cannot get in, it's very adult humor, and I'm letting everyone know if anything offends you, it may not be the show for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they say it before the show, and then George Lopez would come on the screen, cause it used to be George Lopez's Comedy Club.
Yeah.
And he would say, very offensive humor, if anything, now George Lopez isn't there anymore.
Mhm.
It's just, it says, it used to be George Lopez's Punchliner Comedy Club, now it just says Punchliner.
Uh-huh.
So I'm on stage one night, and somebody goes, what happened to George Lopez on the screen there? I said, we have a new president, he's Mexican, he's on the other side of the wall now.
Yeah, he's on the-
Cause they got a brick wall
But-
behind us.
He's on
But,
the other
you know,
wall.
Lance, I like what you're saying. Just
Yeah.
give them tons of warning
And that's
ahead of
enough,
time,
that's gonna be.
right? And we could still be the club that caters to
Do you
controversial
think,
comedians.
do you think, Kevin Hart or Dave Chappelle, anything cares what anyone thinks about what he says?
Especially at this
Well,
point in their life.
that's what I
they don't
mean.
care.
Isaac
That's
is
it.
talking about as the club owner, is he gonna get flack
No.
for that whole deal?
You know,
The
so,
comedians, I agree with you. the
You're
comedians.
always gonna have someone that doesn't like you.
so,
What?
but
You know,
now.
Carnival always gets people in the audience that don't like it. But they tell them that we advertised it beforehand and we told you.
Mhm.
So there's no reason to write anybody up or be upset because we tell you it's in your program, in your room, it's on the screens, it's when you come in, they advertise that it's adult humor.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna come out and you're gonna bitch because you didn't like what was going on.
I think that's what happened with the other cruise line I was telling you about, Snobby Cruise Line, is, when I asked the cruise director if they had comedy, oh no, we offended somebody once, so we stopped doing comedy. And I thought.
What cruise line was it?
I really don't wanna say, but they thought they were like princesses, I don't
No,
know.
they were princesses. But you know, that's owned by Carnival.
Yeah,
Carnival has 26 ships.
I know they do.
Carnival Cruise Corporation has 127 ships.
I know they
They
do.
own every cruise line except for Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Disney.
Wow.
But they're, all parked.
But you know where I made all my money
Where's
since the
that?
pandemic?
Where?
I bought Carnival Cruise stock.
So did I.
It was $51
Uh-huh.
a year ago.
Yeah,
I bought it at $8.
Yep.
yeah.
It's on
Put
its
a
back.
ton of money in it, and now it's like, right now it's at 14. But if you
Nice.
hold on to it, it'll be at
I know,
50
yeah.
in the next
That's
year or
50.
two.
Yeah,
So,
Just don't get rid of it.
so talking about Carnival Cruise Line,
Mhm.
so I just did my 60th cruise. And-
Wow.
Yeah, mostly on Carnival. But, you ever wonder what happens to old cruise ships?
They just let go of 3 of them.
No, more
Lance, you
than
don't wanna
that.
take off the mask? So Lance, for those of you who are just on the podcast right now, he is sipping
Through a straw.
sipping a straw through a bottle, through his mask, through a hole in his face mask, hospital grade face mask.
I'm gonna vape in a minute.
So-
Jack, you're saying?
So I got into this thing, I was on the internet the other day and seeing what happens to old cruise ships, cause the headline was all these cruise ships are parked, cause they've all canceled their
Yeah.
fiscal 20 cruise schedule. So I said, well, so what do they do with all these ships? Well, they parked them somewhere, I can't remember where it was.
They're everywhere.
But then they talk
World.
about the ones that they're gonna salvage or dismantle.
The fantasy, the fascination.
All three though,
And,
all
yeah.
try of them in that class, the
They've been out
fantasy
since the
class.
nineties, though, that's
Yeah,
why.
But my-
They're old.
My favorite cruise ship, and you've probably been on it, Monarch of the Seas, Royal
Oh, yeah.
Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's
Huge,
now,
right?
it's still cruising the Mediterranean under another name, it's just called Monarch. But
Yeah.
that was my all-time favorite ship.
You know, Carnival has 3 or 4 brand new ships they're
Right.
building.
Yep.
So they're very smart. What they do is they take the old ships, they scrap them, and they use that metal.
Yep.
And build the new ships,
Yeah.
wow.
So,
But they're not per month. Just to stay
Yeah, what's
afloat
their
right
nut,
now.
yeah.
690 million a month.
that's incredible.
Oh, man,
A month.
that's a lot of
That's a kind
PPP,
of about
that's a
what
lot
I
of
make, right?
PPP money, that's a lot of SBA money
I
right
wouldn't be
there.
surprised if they claim
Bankruptcy?
bankruptcy for reorganization.
Yeah, the
something like
reorganization, chapter,
You're in stock.
chapter like 14
Let me ask you a
or
question.
whatever
If they
that-
go chapter 11,
Uh-huh.
for reorganization, is that what it is? Stan?
Yeah.
Okay. If they go
Chapter
chapter
11,
11, and I have stock,
Uh-huh.
is there a chance I can lose all of that stock? Or if I hold on to it and they come back, after reorganize,
Okay.
can I still keep that stock?
Yeah, so if the company closes its doors and does not come back.
They'll be back, but they're
Okay,
just gonna reorganize.
so that'll make the stock go down and then it'll come back up again.
Yeah, and
so-
I'll buy it again
But
when it goes
if
down.
they close their doors for sure,
Yeah.
you lose that money.
You know, another
You will lose
stock
that
I
money.
put a lot of money
Uh-huh.
in, I got it for $1.11.
What?
I bought Planet 13
Fitness?
Holdings, the
Oh.
pot store here that's owned by Mike Tyson.
Yep.
I bought it at $1.11, and right now it's
Really?
like $3.60.
So let me finish what I was telling
Right.
you
Go
about
ahead.
cruise ships, because this is the best part. So then I thought, okay, so if they don't repurpose them or whatever, what do they do with them? And so I watched this YouTube video, do you know what they do? They strip out all the good stuff, and then they take it at full speed, and they run it up onto a beach at full speed, and then they dismantle it from there. It is the coolest ever
Really?
YouTube. It is
Really?
awesome to watch it, yeah. They
It's
go
like-
on freighters, cruise ships, old cruise ships, they just,
Wow.
and the horn goes, and it goes, bam, right up on the shore. It's
There's a lot
awesome.
of, yeah, but there's places in the Bahamas, can't think of where it is. It's not Nassau, it's the other island from there, where they break down and rebuild all those
Yeah,
ships.
yeah, yeah. But this is when they're gonna break them up and dismantle them completely.
That's great.
But yeah, so, all right, well, this is a great conversation. We're gonna continue it in part 2 on our next
Okay.
podcast. So,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, this
Hey.
is,
I got straws, you need a straw. And they're plastic, California.
Are they reusable?
They're plastic and reusable.
No,
Oh,
ban-
hey, no,
ban
no,
those
no,
straws.
hell no.
Cancel.
When I leave here, I'm gonna go out to Lake Las Vegas and tie 'em around turtles' necks.
Oh.
So, on behalf of Isaac Israel and Tickle Me Comedy Club and the Blue Zone Comedy Tour, I've been Dillon Dilligaf, and this has been our podcast for tonight. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tickle Me Comedy Club podcast, episode 15. I'm Isaac Israel. We're here with Dillon Dilligaf and comedian extraordinaire, legend, 33 years, Showtime, Star Search, writer for Steve Harvey. Star Search, #1 comedian on the Carnival Cruise Lines. Mr. Lance Montalto is with us today.
Hey,
Yes,
what a guy!
Lance.
part 2 of our two-part episode with Lance Montalto.
Hey,
Do
Lance.
you know who beat me in Star Search years ago?
Uh,
Well, that's when Ed McMahon was on it.
It was it wasn't
Larry
Scott Thompson.
Wilmore.
Larry Wilmore.
Yeah, he had the Daily Show, took over. the
Oh,
Tell
okay.
Story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you feel better now? Do you feel better?
That's who beat me.
All right.
All right.
All righty.
Well,
It's all
Lance,
right.
thanks for coming back and doing part 2 with us.
Oh, it's been a blast.
There's some stuff that we, time went by so quickly last time, there was a couple areas I wanted to talk about. One of those is, so, we've been asking all the comics that we've been interviewing, so how has the pandemic affected you? How is it, did you have shows lined up, and just kind of, in general, what happened, what you've been doing?
I had a lot of work lined up, but it was all canceled because of that, you know. But thank God that, you know, I wrote for Steve Harvey years ago, so I had money that I put aside and, you know, and then I put that into other things and, you know. I was gonna open up, because of the pandemic, everybody's staying home,
Uh-huh.
you know, a lot of I was gonna sell sex toys on eBay.
They do that already.
But I had the greatest
What?
logo. It was gonna, if we don't go in the hole, we're not making any money.
Oh shit.
This is our R-rated show. That's good, I like it. I'll be writing that down.
It's later in the
No,
week.
you'll
It's
hear me
all right.
say it
It's
on
later in the week.
stage.
It's all right.
That's good. So, it must have with this time down that we've all had time to write some new jokes and
Yeah.
just kind of think about, well, you've been in that so long, you don't even really have to do that, but for us other people that haven't been in quite as long as
You know, we've been gone from the stage so long, I gotta remember my old jokes.
It's like
I actually made a list the other day, I'm going, okay, I know the bit, but how did it go?
Have you ever done that, got on stage and you had this great bit, and then you go blank? It's like, that was
No,
good.
but when you're doing, years ago, when you're doing shows on Comedy Club, some nights on a Saturday, you do 3 shows in one night.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the third show, you may say the same joke twice. Did I say that already?
Somebody, about this podcast, somebody told me that, hey, we've been watching your podcast, you kind of like telling the same story over and over again. I'm thinking, yeah, well, maybe we'll have a new audience, one hadn't heard that,
Yeah.
right? But, yeah, so we've, one of the things that I think Isaac and I have done is the virtual comedy shows online with Zoom. Have you done any of those?
I did one with, who did I do it with? I did 2 of them already, with 2 other comics, A guy named Lenny Schmidt,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did Lenny Schmidt's podcast. And then I did, you know who Rhonda Shear is?
Yes.
Rhonda's a very good friend of mine, so I did hers. We had one, it was a lot of fun.
What'd you think of that?
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't do stand-up, it was just like interviews like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
just
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of how,
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah.
this went too.
Yeah.
And then we were each given like 5 or 10 minutes to do some stuff, and we actually had audience members on the Zoom call,
Mhm.
and it worked out really well. We were getting some feedback, that was a good way to just kind of sit and chill with the other comics, but.
Yeah, it's great, it's good, I had a blast with it. Lenny does, different comics every week,
Mhm.
so it's a lot of fun, and he does like, we're on for like an hour.
Is there an audience at Lenny's? I mean,
There's
does an
comics
audience
that will
come?
be writing in, all the cruise ship guys, cause we were all on cruise ships.
Yeah.
So they'll all come in and then we just start messing with each other.
Fun.
Let me show you what I bought. I had it painted this, I'm Republican,
Okay.
okay? But I'm not way right Republican.
Uh-huh.
I like capitalism
Uh-huh.
and certain things. So you go online on like Facebook and everything, and
Uh-huh.
people tell me, you know, you're a communist, you're a Nazi, you're a Klansman and all this. I said, communist? And they go, yeah. So I had a buddy of mine that's Rick Polito, you know Rick Polito?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Great artist.
Yeah.
Have you seen his artwork?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I had him paint a picture for me. So the people thought I was a communist. So I had him
That's
paint
weird.
this here.
They don't know you then.
Yeah, this is my Lenin and Marx.
Show it to the camera.
This is Lenin and Marx.
Oh, God, that's pretty good.
So
Brilliant.
I traveled all over the
Brilliant.
world with Carnival, and I got a hat that I picked up in St. Petersburg, Russia. So I did one of those podcasts like that, and I wore the Russian hat with this behind me.
Nice. That would have probably went over real well. Oh, my God. So, you know, one of the things that has always, let me ask you, so what is the earliest modern invention that you can remember? Changing gears here, I want to get into a different
Wow.
subject.
Before the one I told you before, let me think what it was. I remember transistor radios
Yeah.
Whoa.
that you used to have to put on metal with the alligator clips.
Yep.
I remember having a fan in my house with a block of ice in front of it blowing. And then I remember getting our first wall unit air conditioner.
Yeah.
And I remember when central air was invented.
Wow, you're old.
Wait, when was it invented? In the 70s?
Oh, God,
No.
I've gotta be 60s.
60s.
It was in the 60s.
Well, the block of ice, how did it
I
stay
met
from the?
John F. Kennedy,
You did?
yes,
Where?
about 2 or 3 months before he was killed,
Oh, wow, in 63.
yeah. I
How'd
met
you
him,
get
but I
to see
saw
that?
him, and
Oh.
then he waved at us.
Really? How cool is that? Yeah.
He was in New Orleans,
Wow.
yeah.
So how about you, Isaac? What's the first thing you can remember?
Well, I was gonna say the Walkman, but I can't, but he
Oh,
said
the
transistor.
Walkman.
He said transistor
You
radio.
are fucking ancient!
Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say like the heck, you know, what can I say? I mean, like,
You know the old joke now they put on Facebook cracks me up because my car will never be stolen. He goes, why is that? I said, because it's standard shift. Nobody knows how to use it.
What is that thing for?
It's clutch.
Can
One thing I did do in the summer
Uh-huh.
that I just bought, and I'm getting it redone now, just a little at a time, we got to go out.
Uh-huh.
I bought, about 3 months ago, it's in the shop right now, I bought a 1987 Suzuki Samurai Jeep.
Oh, those are
Oh, wow.
So right now.
The ones
I'm
that flip
getting-
over? No.
Oh, no, I'm getting, right now it's getting roll bars
Oh,
on it.
okay,
I got
okay.
the tube doors, and they putting a winch on the front
Yeah.
of it. And, we'll go hit all the trails once it's
Yeah,
out.
those are cool.
They're a
man.
blast.
Uh-huh.
I remember the old commercials, whoop-de-doo from a Subaru.
Yeah. Do you know that's one of the best automobiles on the planet for off-road?
Yeah,
It's a
Subaru,
really-
It's got
yeah.
the world record for, 87, it's got the world record for climbing at the highest
Really?
altitude. Yes,
I don't know that.
amazing.
Huh.
And it's only 70 horsepower.
Look at that.
It's like a lawnmower. So what they're doing now, they're changing the gear ratio in the front. So when you hit that shit, and when you go uphill like that, the gas in the carburetor would go to the back end and conk out. So I called one of these specialists. I said, what can I put in there that'll make it realistic? Because you know what you really do, it works, they're amazing. So what's that? He goes, you put a Harley Davidson carburetor in it.
Okay,
So-
Because they don't go,
yeah, they don't care.
the gas never.
So
but
that's
They're
interesting.
putting a Harley Davidson sidewinder.
Wow. Wait, we didn't
Nice.
get to ask me what I remember.
Yeah, well,
first.
what's your
What's
favorite,
that?
Color TV. When it
Color
first-
TV.
When it first came out.
Oh, I remember
Yeah,
that too.
Great
that's like
story.
at the same time as the dinosaurs.
remember
right?
that too.
They did that, dinosaurs and
Do you remember
color
putting,
TV.
do you remember putting tin foil on the antenna?
My
So you
brother.
can get.
God.
We put tinfoil on my brother.
How ridiculous is that?
You know, when I was a kid, we
Yeah.
used to go up and walk to the TV to change a channel.
That's why my mom had
And
my
there was
brother.
only 5 of them.
Yeah, that was my brother's job. So the people who lived across, they were the rich people. They didn't have near as many kids as we did. And they got the color TV. They had the only color TV in the neighborhood. And so all of a sudden, when this new program came out called Star Trek,
Oh my God.
in color,
And when it went,
and it's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is the future. Now, if you ever watch those episodes now, it's like, oh my God, like the monsters are in rubber suits.
I remember the first microwave oven.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the men walking on the moon. Put a
Wow.
We interviewed.
Maybe.
We did an interview with a comedian a
I
few weeks
remember when
ago.
people thought the earth was round.
Yeah. But we did an interview with a comedian a few
Yeah.
weeks ago. He's a conspiracy theorist, and
Yeah.
he said that we didn't really walk on the moon. And you know, I go, how do you know that? He goes, well, they didn't have cheese on their boots when they got back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so color TV, that was awesome. And then Star Trek came out, and oh my God, that was the coolest ever. Yeah. How about the greatest invention of the last century? What do you think?
Of last century?
Yeah.
Velcro.
Velcro.
Yeah, I wish I had the.
Oh my God, yeah.
I would say the iPhone.
Oh, probably.
That was the
Because
last
you
century.
used to have to carry a camera this big with a
Yeah.
pack on the side of it, you know?
Yeah.
You used to
And
have
now
to.
it has light and
yeah,
video.
It's got everything in it. Everything
Yeah,
is in that
yeah.
one little phone.
I know,
You got
yeah.
recording, you got camera, you got editing, you have
You name it, it's there. Yeah.
photography,
Filtering, you
you
know.
have music.
Does
You
the
can edit
dishes.
music, you can record music on, it's
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
It's great. How about
Do
you?
you know what? The Apple, I don't know if you know this, the Beatles had a company, Apple Records,
Mhm.
okay? So when the iPhone came out and they called it Apple Computers, the Beatles sued Apple because they owned the
I
name.
remember that.
And they made millions and millions of dollars on it.
Yep.
And Apple said that the Beatles said, you can use it for that, but if you have anything that records music in it in the long run, you can't do it.
Really?
So years later, the Apple company came out with, the recording thing with
iTunes.
Yeah.
No, not the iTunes.
Garage.
The garage.
GarageBand or something?
GarageBand.
Yeah, GarageBand.
Which could they sued him again, and he got another 50, 100 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But Apple, that's you and I going to McDonald's and Biggie sizing it.
I know,
you
right? That's the coolest, right?
That's nothing.
Yeah.
How about you, Isaac? How about you for best invention of the
I don't
last
know,
century?
I just said Velcro.
Oh, there we go. You're
Yeah,
right.
how about
Velcro.
you?
Okay, how about me?
Yeah.
Cruise control.
Cruise control. That's the only way I drive now.
This is gonna be really stupid.
No, you wanna know one of the best inventions on the planet?
What?
GPS.
Oh my God, that's like.
Yeah.
Remember when you used to have a big
That's
map
right.
like that? You had to open up the hole
Yeah.
and find everything?
Yeah.
Yep.
But in the old days, when I traveled all over the United States playing comedy clubs, after a while, looking at all those maps, I could tell you how to get to any comedy club and what hotel they put you
Really?
in.
How fun.
Because you have to using the maps so much.
Wow.
Now,
You
I
give
can't even get
directions.
5 blocks away without using
I
a
know, right?
GPS.
So.
Or remembering anyone's phone number.
Do you know people who still give you directions?
Yeah.
Southerners.
Do you know, no,
Go up to the Smitty's hardware store and hang a left.
do you know a word that's gonna be obsolete, I'd say in the next 15 years?
Republican.
What?
No.
Oh,
Counterclockwise.
counterclockwise.
Yeah.
People don't even know how to tell their time.
And that's the truth. Unlocked
So
Dillon.
counterclockwise, they have no idea
Oh,
what that
I
is.
messed it up. I wanna go back to that GPS thing, cause it reminded me of this great, true story. So my late wife and I we had a big RV and we traveled all over America. We did 50,000 miles just
Oh,
traveling
that's great.
all over. And this was prior to GPS. So she'd be sitting over there. My job was to drive and get us there
She
safely.
did
Her job was to navigate and do all the entertainment stuff.
the Atlas.
So she'd
That's
have
what
the
it
Atlas
was.
out, she'd be doing this and
Yeah.
doing that. And then they came out with this thing called GPS. And all she did was program my destination in there and said, follow that. And she'd sit over there eating bonbons, watching TV. It's like, my job didn't decrease.
I
hers
bought a
did.
Garmin years ago.
Yep.
Where you could go
Yeah.
anywhere in the United States.
Uh-huh.
But then I took 3 weeks, 4 weeks, where I was working a ship in Italy. And then I got off the ship, and then 3 weeks later, they were gonna fly me all the way home and I'd be all the way back. I said, why don't you just leave me here? So I rented a car, and I had to download Europe on the GPS because it wasn't online.
Wow.
But I drove.
I
For
know.
3 weeks, I did Italy, Switzerland, Germany, Austria.
Nice. Yeah.
Came back and went to Sicily
I know.
and met family I hadn't seen, the Italians.
And you would have never found it without the GPS. We did
Yes.
a similar thing. We went to Turkey. My son was
Wait,
stationed.
and then I dropped the car off in Milan,
Uh-huh.
and then I took a train from Milan to Paris, went to Paris for 2 or 3 days, then went back to the ship.
Yep.
Wow. You're tall for us.
Amazing.
You're tall for
I'm
us
in the
to
middle of
say.
Austria. I mean, I would take old roads, I mean, no highway, but I take all the old stuff, and I'm in the middle of the mountains. And I'm driving just to see the real Austria, and out of nowhere, I see the most gorgeous, huge factory. And I went, in the middle of it, I said, what is this? And I go up to it, and it's the Swarovski Crystal Company.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I just came up on it.
Wow. That was awesome.
And I came up on it, and then I took the tour through it, and it was great.
How random.
Yeah,
did-
just random.
We had to go to Turkey. My son was stationed in our air base in Turkey, and so we landed in Istanbul and rented a car. But prior to that, oh my God, what a great trip. I had bought the maps, the Garmin maps for my GPS, and I downloaded them. And that thing was absolutely, oh, I'm getting a call. No, I'm not. A little something out of your book. But if we didn't have that GPS, I mean, it took us everywhere. We would have been divorced if we didn't have the GPS. I would have been dead.
Were you in Istanbul?
Yeah.
I went to Istanbul. You know what you can tour in Istanbul?
What?
The home of the Blessed Virgin Mary.
I didn't get to see
Really?
it.
That was in Istanbul.
Her home was there.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
I'll have to call up. No, we can't take that one. I can't answer right now because that was the last show.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, so I want to know what did Mary's house look like?
Oh, it had cable TV and, it was just a little house. It was beautiful. It was amazing.
Was it all white?
After Christ was killed.
Yeah.
And she moved to that.
Yeah.
She moved to there.
That's where she was. Yeah.
Little
Okay.
It's
retirement
very
condo.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's great. I love all this.
And we did get to,
Wow.
we did get to go to the big mosque. That was
But
really
I saw my
interesting.
family. I saw my family in Sicily.
Yeah. You're tall for a Sicilian.
Huh?
You're tall for a Sicilian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
How'd that happen, Lance?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, one of the things that we talked about while we were between shows is we talked about the mafia. And so tell me the story about the mafia that you told us earlier.
You are Sicilian, right?
Yeah, I know, that's what it reminded me.
The mafia started in the United States. It actually started in one of the first. It wasn't really the mafia back then. It was called the Black Hand, where they were guys that would go to a place and go, the place could burn down, but we can not take care of it. You give us so much money for not. So, my great grandfather was a guy who took care and got rid of the Black Hand. So that's when the mafia actually started. The first recorded hit.
Right, you're hearing it here, folks.
This is him right
It
here.
started with- Where
This is
was
him
it?
right-
What city? What
This is my
city?
great and crazy
just
this
like
guy
you.
was. He ran the mob in New Orleans from 1908 to 1915.
Uh-huh.
1910, they tried to assassinate him. He got 2 bullets to the head, survived it,
No way.
killed everybody with bullets in his head,
Uh-huh.
and then was finally assassinated in 2015. The first mafia hit in the history of America
What? Are you
was
serious?
in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
It's recorded. You can research it. they killed the Sheriff Hennessy.
Mhm.
And my great-grandfather was part of that.
Really?
Can't pick your relatives, but
Yeah.
but in those days, Italians in New Orleans were treated horribly, horribly
Uh-huh.
by the sheriff because they were immigrants, you know?
Yeah.
So the only way they could, was to band together and go, we're not gonna deal with this anymore, so they killed the police chief.
Wow.
So they arrested about 30 people, 12 of them, or 19 of them went to jail.
Uh-huh.
And then the sheriff, after the policeman was killed, people raided the jail, pulled those 12 or 19, whatever it was, and hung them in the streets.
Really?
No way.
Yeah,
The Italians.
the Italians, yeah.
Really?
Oh. Huh. But those are the
My
same.
great-grandfather was part of all of
But
that.
they're the same people who got rid of the black hands.
Yes,
Right.
yes, and one of the
Uh-huh.
black hands is the guy who ended up killing my great-grandfather.
Wow.
He was called the Axe Man, who was supposed to be, and they say he was a serial killer
Uh-huh.
in New Orleans, way back in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
But he was actually a black hand, because all the people who would kill him were grocery store owners who were protected by my grandfather, great-grandfather.
Whoa. Huh.
So he took care of all of them, and then they ended up killing him.
We are in the presence of celebrity.
What?
Yeah, we're in the presence of celebrity.
Oh, no, no. But I did have one mafia guy, once I posted it on Facebook one time, he goes, you may not, because I have nothing to do with it, okay, but it's just your family. But one mob guy got in touch with me one time, and he goes, you may not notice my son, my friend, but you are royalty.
Where's the
I'm
money?
yeah.
Okay, where's the
Yeah,
money?
where's my money?
I'm royalty, where's the money?
But because of my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my grandfather was a character. My grandfather, when I was, my grandfather had a restaurant in New Orleans years and years ago. And the bottom floor, I'm Italian, Hispanic, and Creole.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm black, Italian, and Spanish.
Mhm.
But in the 1950s, because of the city of New Orleans, he had a restaurant, and the law in New Orleans, the laws, where he had a restaurant where the front is where the whites ate, and the back is where blacks ate. So that was the law in Louisiana. If I wanted to have a Coca-Cola with one of my best friends, I had to go in the black portion to drink it with him.
Really?
Yes, but that was the law. But once the restaurant was closed, my grandfather was great. The kids were running around the house and everything, but the law was horrible.
While it was open?
Yes.
You had to abide by that?
Yes.
Wow.
The only thing I remember my grandfather saying in English years ago is it, "They all are on the beaches." That's the only thing I remember saying.
I remember my mother saying that. We had their 6 siblings, and she called us all little sons of bitches.
You little son of the beaches.
Sons of bitches.
But my grandfather's buried in a place in New Orleans where down from him is like Diamond Jim, Moran, Louis Prima
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
buried there.
All famous mob.
Yeah.
But they
mob
don't
people.
really bury people in New Orleans because
It's
of the
above
water
ground,
table. Okay,
yeah.
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 That was an interesting thing that I learned, how they do that for, I don't know if you know this, Isaac, but
You know why they did it?
because of the water,
In the hurricanes, the
Right.
graves would come up. The old joke is a hurricane hits and the kid knocks on the door and goes, "Grandma, you're not gonna believe this, Grandpa's back."
so basically what they do is they build these above ground crypts.
Tombs, yeah.
Tombs, and they'll bury a family member, and that family member will decompose, and then the thing will be ready for the next.
There's a tomb
next-
for my great grandfather there, Vincenzo Morisi. I got pictures of it. And underneath that is his wife's name. Then underneath that is a woman, her name is Lorraine Boasso. That was her married name, but her real name was Montalto. That was my dad's sister and my godmother. Underneath that is my grandmother's name, who was married to the daughter of Vincenzo Morisi.
Mhm.
Then my grandfather is buried there, but his name's not on the tomb because he was such a horrible human being. It would be defamed. He was just not a good person.
Wow.
So years later, I would tell stories about my family. You know, you got kids in the neighborhood goes, "Lance, you're so full of shit." You know, always, where did these stories come in? and I showed him the picture. I said, "You see that tomb? That's Vincenzo right there." I said, "You remember my grandpa we used to call Papa?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "That's the one who's in it that doesn't have his name on it." And I said, "Look at the bottom of the tomb there." I said, "You see that big vase there with the flowers in it? Blow it up." So I opened that screen like that, and I said, "Look at that." He says, "Papa, love, Lance." So I put it there, so he would have a name there, but nobody knew who he was.
Oh, you're just like a livingancestry.com there.
Ancestry.
Lance.
But it was you can't pick your relatives, but I look back now and I go, wow, how interesting is all of that?
So how did your whole family get into the arts?
My dad was a musician, a really good trumpet player.
You just, yeah.
And then he started playing with the big bands, and he met my mom, and they played and sang and with the big bands. And then when they got married, they had 4 kids, and each kid was 11 months apart.
Yeah.
So when they had those 4 kids, he quit playing the music, and he went into the restaurant business with my grandfather, and he ran the restaurant.
Italian
But
restaurants.
I'm gonna tell you about the restaurant. I didn't tell you about this. So
Yeah.
it was the restaurant downstairs, and they had an old black man that was, when you walk outside, they had an old black man named Pee Wee, who was great. He'd always cut up with me, and he stood outside, and there was another door to the side, but I could never go in that door. Now you gotta realize this is in the 50s. Let's see, 52. That was like 1958, 59. And I'd go talk to Pee Wee and cut up. And as I got older, sometimes I'd go to my dad's restaurant and help him during the day. And if he wanted me, he goes, here. Here's a roll of nickels. Why don't you go upstairs? So I'd go upstairs and play the slot machines because it was a casino, and that was illegal back then. So he had a casino, but I could never go to the 3rd floor because that was the whorehouse.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! I didn't know until later.
Oh my
That's why they wouldn't
God.
let me upstairs.
Wow.
You weren't curious?
The restaurant was
Did you-
downstairs, then the casino, and then I remember in the restaurant he had an iron claw machine, and all these longshoremen would come from the docks, and they'd all play the iron claw machine to try to get pencils.
Yeah.
But that's stupid. And then I realized what they would do with the pencil. They had a cap or a pen with the cap on the pen, and if you got one, you pull out, there's a piece of paper in there, and you could get $200.
Oh, it's like a little lottery ticket,
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, that's.
So they play and try to see what.
Oh, that's cool.
So
I'm
you're
surprised
trying-
you weren't curious about what was going on the 3rd floor.
I was always curious.
You couldn't get up there?
No.
Oh, darn.
Now, were there?
I did when I was like, once we was selling the place after my grandfather died, and then my dad started working, hiring my dad hired labor on the docks in New Orleans. So, once he started doing that, and they were selling the old place, then I went upstairs and saw the notice of it.
Yeah, and saw whips and chains and stuff like
No.
that. So-
It was right off-
What's this dildo doing up here? Like, what's
It
going
was on Front Street, which is right by the docks.
Yeah.
So all the dock workers would come and eat for lunch and eat more than food.
wait, so were there other like establishments like your father's?
There were restaurants and bars, but I don't think like my grandfather.
No, that had the casino and then the warehouse. Did they have?
I think that little place, the
like-
bookies. You know,
Okay.
when I got older,
Uh-huh.
I was working all these clubs in New Orleans at Monster Zone,
Yeah.
you know, and they pulled me aside one time, wanted to know if I wanted to go in the back
Uh-huh.
and work the wire service and take all the numbers and the horses and all that stuff.
Oh wow.
So I did that for a real
Did you really?
short
Uh-huh.
while.
Oh, my
Or
God.
book the football games.
Uh-huh. You ran the numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. We better not offend him, because we'll have to be escorted. out
Yeah,
of
because
parking
he's
lot.
1 degree away from
No,
from Bugsy
no,
Siegel.
no.
Bugsy Siegel.
It's royalty, remember?
You wanna know my best? This is my biggest
Uh-huh.
story. This really freaked me out. They had a guy I worked for in New Orleans years ago. He was like a Tom Jones type singer, you know. His name was Frankie Brent,
Uh-huh.
and I was his opening act. That was my first as a comic, opening his shows. And he wore the tight pants, and blue-haired bus tour ladies would go, "Oh, look, he's got tight pants." So, but he was really good, an entertainer, like Tom Jones, and you know.
Yeah.
And they had a guy that lived in the back of his club that I thought cleaned up and everything. So I'll go get paid one day, and I walk in there, FBI, cops, everybody's there, and they're arresting the guy. Come to find out, the guy was a hitman for the mob, and Frankie was hiding him out. and they found a gun in Frankie's car that somebody that they killed, and I didn't know anything about it. I'm just a comic working the place.
Yeah.
So they asked me questions, and I went, look, I don't know what's going on here.
Uh-huh.
I'm just a comedian. He goes, son, I said, I'm just working for Frankie Brent. He goes, son, that's his stage name. I said, you know what his real name is? I went, no one. He goes, it's Adolfo Gambino.
Oh my God. From the Gambino crime family,
What was his nephew?
New York. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He was in South Philly.
Oh,
I didn't know.
God.
I'm just a comic working the place.
So he was really talented.
What's that?
He was
Oh,
Frankie.
great. He
Frankie was
really
really
good singer.
talented. Yeah, yeah.
the
But he had
bands
all
were
this
great.
other stuff
And he had
going
the
on.
best musicians. He had some
Yeah.
amazing musicians working for him.
Yeah.
You know, and he would just those bus tours.
Uh-huh.
Tourists would come in 2 or 3 times a night. They do 3 one-hour shows. Boom, 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 boom. Tons of money. And I was
Wow.
the MC comedian
Uh-huh.
introducing everybody.
Did he pay you well?
Yeah, yeah.
Hell
It's
yeah.
great.
Wow.
Clyde's Comedy Corner.
Uh-huh.
And there was a
Yeah.
girl. in
When
Clyde's
it's still
Comedy-
open or no?
They had a girl named in Clyde's Comedy Corner that was an open micer,
Uh-huh.
and we became
Oh,
good
I
friends.
know this story, yeah.
And it was
Uh-huh.
Ellen Degeneres.
Oh, really?
I started with Ellen in New
Did you
Orleans.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Now she's getting a lot of flack.
Is she a nice person? I mean,
She was great when she first started out, but then after she lost her TV show during the day, and she came
Yeah.
out and she said she was gay,
Uh-huh.
Hollywood. So she became so jaded.
Yeah.
That she really is 100% of what everyone is saying now. She's the worst person on the planet
Really?
to talk.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Steve
'cause-
Harvey's the greatest guy. I know
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah.
Steve and I used to drive all around the country in cars, working with each other way before he ever made it.
yeah, I think.
Yeah, it's like that story he
Yeah.
tells, when he made it big in Harlem at
At the
the Apollo, yeah. Like, were you there? Were you with him before
No,
that?
that was before that. Yeah.
You were
Oh, no,
with him
no,
before
no,
that,
when
right?
Steve was-
In Florida?
When Steve first started out, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you know the story
Okay.
about him being
I
the
used-
MC?
Yeah, I'm one of the best practical joke. I pulled the best practical joke on him ever. So, Steve, me, and Lester Bibbs, another really funny comedian, we were working the road together, and we doing one-nighters all throughout Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Louisiana.
Yeah.
So we coming from Florida to Mississippi. I got a radar detector, and they're behind me. I said, just follow me. So we get pulled over, and because I don't look black, but they do, the cop is all over him. Checking his afro for weapons and shit. Checking the air pressure in his tires in his car. And I said, sir, we're just comics, we're trying to get to the next gig. He goes, shut up, boy, and stand over there. I said, okay, sir, no problem. And then he grabs Steve's driver's license. He goes, I'm gonna check and see if you got a record, boy. And he picks up the mic, he goes, got a black male, 36 years old. And I looked at Steve and went, Steve, you wanted for blackmail?
Oh, my God.
That was 14 stitches right here.
Oh my God, really? Holy shit.
Yeah. So we get to New Orleans. This was the best.
Oh,
We'd switch off. I would headline, he would headline. But since it's New Orleans, we work in a club, I'm gonna headline. It's my people. 300 people in a room. I'm on stage, they're right in front of him right here. So I knew that back then Steve Vac was real dirty. So what I did was, I had my friend and her boyfriend. I sat them in the front row, and I dressed him like a priest and her like a nun. So I got a priest and a nun in the front row, and Steve's trying to be so clean you can see the sweat coming through his. And every time he's on stage trying to be clean, he'd look down at her, and she'd be looking at him going, "Fuck you, fuck you," and she'd be taking her habit and pulling it up to her crotch.
oh, my God.
So it was so
So
funny.
they were
We got-
dressed- they were dressed like
Oh, God, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
none of the priests.
God.
And then he gets backstage, he doesn't know it, and he's going off. He goes, Jesus Christ, I know New Orleans is decadent, but you got a fucking nun tell me to go fuck myself. So then he finds out it's a joke.
Oh, that's
So years later, he's Steve, and he's got his TV show, and he's got all this, he's got millions of dollars. So I'm living in LA, and I'm getting all these, small movie parts, maybe one word or crowd scenes or whatever. And my agent calls me. He goes, you want to make $250 today? I say, well, yeah, what's that? He goes, we need people to sit in the audience of a show and laughter. We need laughter, live laughter. You get food, you get $250. I said, sure, what is it? He goes, it's the Steve Harvey show. And I said, yeah, I'll go.
Oh, God.
So so the show's being taped, and then when they cut to something else and they change film or whatever they do and they do break, he usually picks up the mic and he never goes backstage. He just talks to the audience because he's really good with an audience, right? So he's keeping them entertained and everything. And he goes, so this is how everything's filmed in Hollywood. Welcome to my show. He goes, and we have any questions? And I'm way in the back, and he doesn't know who I am because I'm way in the back in the dark. I went, I got a question. And he goes, yeah. He goes, what's that back there? Yeah, what's your question? I said, you ever worked in New Orleans years ago as a nun and a priest in the audience that wouldn't leave you alone? He went, Lance?
He knew.
Yeah, so he brought me on stage and we hugged. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, I live in LA now. And so then he tells the story, it kills. And then I leave and I'm going standing in the back. I'm just standing in the back. And this woman's standing next to me. She goes, is all that true? And I said, yeah, we've known each other for years and years. So stuff would happen during the taping where we're just doing small talk. And I'd say something and she'd die laughing. I can't remember half of what I said. Come to find out, she was the producer of the show.
Oh, wow.
So 2 days later, I get a call. They want me to write for the show.
Nice.
So
That's
she goes
how
to
it
Steve, she
happened.
goes, that guy Lance is very funny, man. You ever think, because I was gonna ask you the same question.
Nice. So you got to write for a show
I
for
ended
a
up
while.
writing for a show.
How long was that?
About 1.5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How do they do that? People just sit around the table, toss around ideas, or?
It's rough. It's really, really insane. I had to come up, I did his monologues and stuff.
Wow.
So I had to come up every day. I had to come up with 5 monologue synopses. So that's 25 monologues a week.
Yeah,
I had to think of, and then he picked 2 of them or 3 of them.
yeah.
You know, it's a lot of work.
How long's the monologue?
6 minutes.
And if he picked one, did you get paid extra?
No. We're all writers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
How fun.
But it's a lot of tension, but I'm so blessed that I had it for that time because it opened my mind so much to writing. That's why when I go on stage now and I watch the other comics, that's why I have 5 minutes on what I just saw in the room.
Yeah. Because you know.
Because it just comes to me.
Yeah. From all the
It's
years
just- I'm
from
just
that
sitting at
time
the
writing.
computer. I had
Knock it out.
Yeah. I had a subscription where I could go online and pull up every newspaper
Yeah.
in the country. So I'd find stories that's in the news that day and.
Yeah, and then you write jokes about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So probably not
That's
as
great.
stressful because you knew Steve, right? And
What's that?
Was he easier on you because he knew you,
Do you know,
or harder?
no, but every now and then he'd really just blow up and come down on me and I'd look at him and I'd go, you used to sleep on my couch at my mom's house, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
What would he say to that?
He laughed.
Oh, you're right.
But yeah, he's a serious businessman, brilliant businessman.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yes.
wouldn't be where he is if he wasn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You have no idea what he owns.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I read in the news today that the Pope just came out with a new rule. It says that the priests and nuns could kiss now as long as they don't get in the habit.
Okay.
You reminded me of that, I don't know where I get that.
He owns Night at the Apollo. He owns Steve Harvey show. He owns Steve Harvey suits. He owns Steve Harvey radio show. He owns Steve Harvey books. Steve Harvey movies. He owns Comic View.
Wow.
He owns an old show that he put together. It was called Sister Sister with the twins.
Yeah.
That was his production. He's got.
Do you ever get to see him, Lance?
I used to call him and he'd get back with me, but now he pays a guy $40,000 a year to carry his 5 phones.
To screen
You
his
know,
calls.
so if I would call right now, I might hear from him 2 weeks from now for like 2 minutes.
So if we were interviewing him right now, we wouldn't be hearing his phone ring like yours, right?
Yeah, because he already knows what everybody's wearing.
What are you wearing? Khakis and a red shirt.
I got some Steve Harvey vests and suits and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, how
I didn't like the suits that much, but the vests were really badass.
Yeah.
He does dress very nice.
Oh, he's got a tailor
Oh
that
my
travels
God.
everything, but, you know, I mean, you go in the green room and the guy's measuring him for new suits.
Really?
Yeah.
How-
I was there with his cousin. Do you watch the listen to the Steve Harvey
No.
radio show?
No.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, he has like 3-4 other people with him.
Yeah, I was with his nephew
Uh-huh.
Tommy and,
Uh-huh.
and J. Anthony Brown.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Just good people.
Yeah.
So where would our audience find that? The Steve Harvey Show? Is it on radio?
I think his radio show.
It's a podcast, he also has a podcast here.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it'll be Steve
Right now,
Harvey
he's like
podcast.
semi-retired, he just counting all that money. He does a couple of things where he tries to help people with his foundations and stuff.
I heard him one day say that he doesn't make as much money, well, he makes it, but he has to give it to all the ex-wives and everything.
Yeah, yeah. He lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I had to sign a paper where I couldn't say anything about his personal life.
Okay, edit that, folks. Okay.
Yeah, edit
So-
that.
No, it's true, I mean, I still won't say it.
Yeah.
He's
So-
a great guy.
Yeah, I think he's an incredible entertainer.
Yeah.
You know, he's personable, he's funny, he's witty. Oh, yeah.
So folks, we've reached the end of our podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Lance, before we go?
How can people find you, Lance? I mean, if they wanted to.
Behind his mask.
Yeah, behind the
The
mask.
man behind the mask.
I'm just on Facebook.
Or like,
Uh-huh.
who wants to know?
I'm on Facebook.
Facebook,
I'm the most hated comic on planet
Lance
because of my political
Montalto.
stances.
Oh, yeah, how fun.
We didn't even get into that.
Oh, we didn't get into that one. Let's
Yeah.
do show 3.
We'll have you back. This has been great.
Let's get
thoroughly enjoyed it.
together after the election and we'll
Oh,
have
yeah.
some fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that'll be good. That'll be a
But I
good
just
podcast.
heard that they found Hillary's 33,000 emails.
Oh, yeah.
Where were they?
They were taped to the inside of her pantsuits because no one's been in there in years.
Oh.
No! Thank you!
All right, so that's the end of our podcast.
Thank you, everybody. On behalf of Isaac Israel, I'm Dillon Dilligaf, and you all know what the Dilligaf stands for. Dilligaf. Do I look like I give up? So with that, Blue Zone Comedy Tours is a sponsor, along with Tickle Me Comedy Club, and we really appreciate your watching us, and look for us in our next podcast. So, on behalf of Lance and Isaac, good night.
It was a lot
Good
of
night,
fun.
folks.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
All right.